11 days after having left the United Kingdom, the Special Service Squadron arrived in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Following an address of welcome by the Mayor and the Corporation of Freetown, the ship spent 4 days taking on fresh supplies and refuelling. In this, it may be noted that the seamen and marines of HMS Hood alone ate 1,400 pounds of bread, 1,000 pounds of meat, and 1,000 pounds of potatoes each day. Therefore, food supplies had to be managed carefully. On December 12th, the ships of the squadron were open to the public during the afternoon, and shore leave was generous. Following the foggy departure from the United Kingdom, the warm weather of Sierra Leone was much appreciated by the men of the ships. The squadron hosted a dance for the mayor and the local dignitaries on board the Hood and gave a searchlight display to the local population before departing on the 13th of December for South Africa. The squadron crossed the Equator on Saturday the 15th of December, with the traditional crossing of the line ceremony being held on board each of the ships. One of the oldest traditions in the Royal Navy, dating back to the Sailing Navy, the crossing of the line tradition dictates that any ship crossing the Equator must pay its respects to the Lord of the Seas, King Neptune, to gain his acceptance. Breaking the routine of gunnery, searchlight practice and testing communications, the custom combines social entertainment with team building. On the night of the 14th of December, King Neptune's staff had gone around each of the ships, issuing a summons to attend the ceremony. At 0900 on the 15th, the fun began, with Neptune and his wife seating themselves to watch the landlubbers go through their sacred waters. In his account of the cruise, V. Scott O'Connor gave a graphic description of the ceremony.
On December 15th we crossed the line, and 950 men who had never crossed the equator prepared to face the terrors of the bath. Thrones or chairs were placed upon a dais for Neptune and his court at the end of the quarterdeck, with 8 chairs below them for the admiral and other distinguished persons. The rest of the deck was crowded with spectators. The Oceanic Court was seen approaching to the strains of music, the drum major brandishing his staff at the head of the bandsmen whose cheeks were filled out with air, while the drummers beat a rataplan on their drums. The spectators made way, the Royal Marines delivered a salute with their customary smartness, but today with grins upon their faces. Neptune ascended his throne. His bears, well suited by their massive frames and hairy forms to inspire novices with terror, lay at his feet. The admiral then left his seat and marching up to the dais, saluted and went down upon his knees to receive the ribbon and the order of the bath. He then rose, saluted, and returned to his seat. One by one the other recipients of honors went up and returned with smiling faces, like schoolboys at an annual prize-giving. All round us were assembled, in the scantiest of clothing, the neophytes who were this day to be initiated. While those who still wore uniform, the captain of the Hood himself, the admiral's political secretary, and other persons of rank, made a dash for their cabins to shed their trappings and appear in bathing suits. An enormous bath, some 10 feet high, had been erected on the port side of the quarterdeck, with a steep ladder for those ascending to their ordeal, on one side, and another for those descending after its completion on the other. Every vantage point, including the gun turrets and the gangways, was occupied by hilarious onlookers, including hundreds of those who were themselves to be initiated. Upon a wooden platform above the bath were now assembled the Chief Justice in his scarlet robes, the Neptune barber and physician, and other officials. As each neophyte ascended the ladder he was well beaten over the head with an inflated bladder, or baton, by the Neptunic police. Seized and placed upon a stool and dosed by the physician with a very disagreeable pill, that to make sure it reached its goal was rammed into his mouth and was followed by a glass of medicine, which willy-nilly he had to swallow, while an attendant held his nose. He was then rapidly passed on to another stool, to the ministrations of the court barber, his face lathered and shaved with a wooden razor, until of a sudden the stool, most unexpectedly, tipped over and he found himself descending head foremost, his feet flying in the air, along a soapy slide into the bath. Swift and sure was his descent into this avernus, where he was seized by the grimy bears and ducked repeatedly until at last, completely out of breath and spluttering seawater, he came to the end of his purgatory and was suffered to rise up on his feet and make for the descending ladder, half choked, but delighted to find himself free. While from behind him came the splash of his successor's arrival, to shouts of laughter from the assembled spectators. Meanwhile Neptune still sat upon his throne, administering justice to all backsliders, shammers, conscientious objectors, and other recalcitrant. These delinquents, arrested in secret haunts and caverns of the ship, were brought up in custody by the oceanic police and their offences detailed. One who may have been shamming only to please the company was produced from a bag carried on a pole, from which he rolled out at His Majesty's feet, emerging with a smile. Another, it was reported, had been found skulking in the Admiral's galley frying a kipper, in defiance of Your Majesty's commands. Have them rubbed into him, came the stentorian judgment, and especially the kipper. After this there were sliced oranges and champagne, and similar polite attentions from the Admiral. Let those not interested look the other way, roared His Oceanic Majesty, gazing benevolently at the bubbly.
On board HMS Delhi, Captain Pippon was presented with the ancient order of the Kippered Herring. On the 22nd of December, the squadron arrived at Cape Town, South Africa. Here, the light cruisers moored inside the breakwater, while the battlecruisers lay in the bay about 1.5 miles from the city. During the morning, Vice Admiral Field paid his official visit to the Acting Governor-General. Many of the crew from HMS Hood participated in a ceremonial march through Cape Town on the 24th of December. Christmas Day was spent at anchor off Cape Town, with the 26th of December seeing the ships open to the public. During this time, they received approximately 2,000 visitors. The squadron ball took place on board the Hood that evening, featuring local dignitaries including Colonel Van Renfield, founder of the South African Air Force. On January 2nd, the fleet sailed from Mossel Bay, East London, as well as Durban.
Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more updates, like and share. You can also help to support the channel at Patreon. Details are in the description box below.